Welcome to the Buhay region, a Pokemon region based on the Philippines. This region is the setting for the conceptual games Pokemon Shine and Pokemon Shade, and just like every previous region, it has its very own starter Pokemon. So allow me to introduce Leafang, Smokecrab, and Buhay. As per usual, head to the comments and guess the final type combos for these Pokemon before seeing their evolutions. Then go back and edit the comment once you've watched the entire video. No cheating by skipping to the end. I'll be hearting comments who do this for the first couple hours that this video is live. These three cuties would be offered to you by Professor Sampa, who is modeled after Filipino actress Lea Salonga in her youth, as Professor Sampa is one of the youngest professors in the Pokemon world, alongside Professor Sonia from the Galar region. Her name comes from the Sampaguita, also known as the Sambac Jasmine, and it's the national flower of the Philippines. But anyway, back to the starters. So first let's talk about Leafang, the grass bat Pokemon, a pure grass type. I worked with Foongoos to create this design and the rest of the starters in this video, so make sure to check out their link in the description. This round friend is inspired by a Philippines pygmy fruit bat. These adorable little bats are endemic to the Philippines and can be found all over the country. Its grass typing, round appearance, and leaf-like nose refer to the Philippine pygmy roundleaf bat as well. Also, Leafang's rotundness and partial brown coloration are meant to emulate a coconut, making it a literal fruit bat. You can even see that it has seeds as the lining of its wings, with seeds being the main distinguishing factor of what makes a fruit. Also, the Philippines is actually the world's top exporter of coconut oil, and coconut production plays a major role in the nation's economy. So in my opinion, we had to have some form of coconut Pokemon that wasn't just Exeggutor. As per most grass starters, Leafang's main ability would be Overgrow. With it being a bat Pokemon, we could give it moves like Bite, Leech Seed, and even Mega Drain to tie in a vampire bat reference. Leafang's wings are mostly for show. They can't actually fly, but can glide short distances. It will climb up high in trees and rest in their canopy, with many tourists mistaking them for some kind of exotic berry, knocking them down and upsetting the Leafang. And I'll be upset if you don't hit those like and subscribe buttons down below right now. So go do that. Now for our fire starter, we have Smokecrab, the fire crab Pokemon, a pure fire type. Straying outside the fire starter zodiac theory has blessed us once again with a crab starter. Woo! Smokecrab has a bit of a unique coloration for a starter Pokemon. That's because it's inspired by a special kind of crab from the Philippines called the Palawan Purple Crab. This miniature decapod is endemic to the islands of Palawan and was actually discovered as recently as 2012. I thought its unique mix of purple and red would be really cool on a starter. Let me know what you think though. Blaze would of course be this Pokemon's main ability, but rather than getting Ember like most fire starters, I would instead give it a new move called Fire Pinch, a base 40 physical fire type move with a 10% chance to burn the target. This is essentially a weaker Fire Punch, which is exactly what I wanted. The thought of this tiny dude giving you a little pinch as a move is just so adorable to me. The smoke puffs around Smokecrab's eyes actually protect it from getting debris in them when it buries itself in the sand. The smoke will completely cover them, acting like goggles for this Pokemon as it traverses underground. The beaches of southwestern Buhay are often littered with Smokecrab. The only way people know this is because of the small plumes of smoke in the sand, which give away their location. With that, we move on to our water starter, Buhay, the water pig Pokemon, a pure water type. This is the first starter with a name I actually have to explain. Baboy is the Tagalog word for pig or pork. Speaking of explaining names, I wanted to quickly explain the name of the region. Buhay in Tagalog means life or living. It can also act as a combination of the Tagalog words mabuhay and bahay, which mean welcome and home. So Buhay is a home full of life that welcomes you. And if I mispronounce any of the Tagalog or Filipino related words in this video, I am so sorry. I'm trying my best to be respectful based on my limited knowledge and online pronunciation guides. Anyway, back to Buhay. This little piggy is inspired by the Philippine warty pig. As their name suggests, they have 4 bumps or warts on their face, as well as tusks. So these itty bitty bubbles near Buboy's mouth act as a reference to both. And with it being a base stage or baby Pokemon, these bubbles refer to how babies will often blow bubbles, also known as raspberries. The hairy backs of the warty pig made for a perfect way to work in these splash-like tufts of hair on Buboy. It would have Torrent as its main ability, and of course it would start with Bubble instead of Water Gun, and would get Bubble Beam a bit later on. Buboy can be found in the swampy wetlands and forested mountains of northern Buhay. They're a bit shy of humans and tend to be nocturnal. They have a tendency to blow bubbles in their sleep, resulting in them being frequently spotted underneath a big pile of bubbles. And I want to spot you underneath this video, hitting that join button to become a member. Membership to this channel helps me continue to pay the artists I work with for these videos, and gets you benefits like videos early and even funding 1 Fakemon a month that I credit you for. So go ahead and hit that join button now. Let's switch it up and go back to Smokecrab, who at level 16 evolves into Palabos, the flame crab Pokemon. Yet another name I get to explain. Palabos is a Filipino cooking process which entails cooking fresh crab, shrimp, and other crustaceans in salted water. Sometimes lemon lime soda is used instead of water for an added twist, which you can see Palabos now has some yellow tips to its claws to refer to this. With this stage, its smoke mixed with its longer legs refers to smoked crab legs, another very popular kind of crab dish. And the way Palabos' feet come together with its smoky head is meant to give the illusion of a smoking volcano. This design has a little smoke mustache and orange beard-like part of its shell to give that middle stage, teenager with facial hair type vibe, while giving a familiar, friendly feeling. So, are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs? Palabos are extremely friendly creatures, leading to them even trying to make friends with potential predators. Fortunately, it can make a natural smokescreen around them for a quick escape. Unfortunately though, this can also be activated when it sneezes. Be wary of bringing your Palabos indoors or inside other enclosed spaces. As a bit of an evolution to Fire Pinch, Palabos would learn Fire Claw, a base 60 physical fire type move that lowers the target's speed, and has a 10% chance to leave the target with a burn. And that is definitely a move our grass starter wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of. Speaking of, Leafang at level 16 evolves into Vainiki, the vine bat Pokemon. Vainiki comes from the Tagalog word for bat, paniki, specifically in reference to microbats. Vainiki does actually have feet, they are just so small that it prefers to use its vines to latch onto trees and other higher up objects. The vines, as well as its general appearance, are a reference to a very well-known creature from Filipino folklore known as the Manananggal. I'm going to put a blood and gore warning here as there are some pretty gruesome details to this creature that tie into Vainiki's design. So, the Manananggal is a vampiric creature, usually feminine in form, that can separate its torso from its waist and legs, with its intestines hanging out from the upper half as it flies around, which is what the vines of Vainiki specifically refer to, and why it doesn't really have a lower half, as the Manananggal is seen without its legs in most depictions. Okay, you should be safe now. Vainiki refers to the harpy fruit bat as well, with harpies being yet another feminine flying mythical creature. With vines being so integral to Vainiki's design, it would naturally learn Vine Whip, and at much higher levels, Power Whip too. I would also give it a new move called Ensnare, where it will lash its vines out at the target, ensnaring them in its grip. This would work like a more powerful grass-type version of Wrap or Constrict, being a base 40 grass-type physical attack and damaging the target for 1/8 of its maximum health at the end of each turn. This move puts a new spin on a teenage lash-out. At this point, I wanted to take a quick aside to acknowledge something. Those who have been following the channel over the last year have probably noticed the 3 regions I've been making, and I definitely know you have noticed how short they've been. So I wanted to explain what my plan was with these. The idea I came up with at the end of last year was to make essentially a sampler platter of regions, giving you all a look at the potential of a region to not only gauge your interest in them, but push myself creatively with a variety of places and cultures to make Pokemon around, and to gauge how interested I was in making each region. So I've been secretly watching and collecting data on the support each of these regions has received. Whichever region has received the most support in views, watch hours, and comments across the videos and the region compilation videos I release will end up being the one that I make into my fully fleshed out official 3rd region. I will be looking for the final results after the first 3 months of next year. I will also be posting a poll when this region comes to an end that you'll be able to vote on. So if you really liked a certain region, let your voice be heard by going back and watching the videos and compilations, sharing them with your friends, and show support in whatever way you can to make sure your pick wins. Thank you guys for all your support on these videos so far, and may the best region win. For our last middle stage, at level 16, Buhay evolves into Wartide, the title pig Pokemon. This bulky bearded boar now refers to a different type of pig from the Philippines, the Palawan bearded pig, which as it sounds is found on the islands of Palawan and does in fact look like it has a beard. Mad respect to this sublime swine from a fellow beard haver. The bubble tusks of this Pokemon now come down to look like some water has gotten stuck in its beard after drinking from a pond. Relatable. The little swirl along its side refers to a specific type of pottery known as Palayak Palayukan. These miniature clay pots sold at fiestas are used as children's toys to play kitchen with. This ties in well with Wartide being the middle stage, as it's basically the step before the final stage, the miniature version of the thing you'll actually cook with. As I said with Buhay, this dude would learn Bubble Beam, but I would also give it the new move, Burst Bubble, where Wartide fires off an enormous bubble that pops in the user's face. This would be a base 60 special water-type move which has a 30% chance to make the target flinch. Waterfall is the only water-type move that can flinch, and I think it's time we change that. Speaking of change, let's stick with Wartide, who at level 36 evolves into Borbaroka, the Swamp Boar Pokemon, a water ground type. You probably saw the ground type coming with Wartide being based on clay pottery, but the patterns across Borboruca's body are meant to be reminiscent of Batak, also known as Patik or Buri. This is a tattooing art form done by the indigenous people of the Philippines. They are representative of tribal identity, kinship, and act as a rite of passage. A revival of the art has become more popular in recent years. The Cordillera, Lumid, and Sulod people, as well as the Mark of the Four Waves tribe, a collective of Filipino diaspora founded in Orange County by artist L. Festin, all continue to work to preserve this ancestral tradition. The designs of these tattoos were often used on pottery as well, tying back into Borboruca's concept. So let's hop into its name. The Borboruca is a water spirit hailing from northern Luzon. This creature from the Black Lagoon-esque monster was known for its ability to suck up all the water in a pond or lake. It would leave the lake empty with all the fish at the bottom. Then when humans would come to collect the fish, the Borboruca would flood the lake once again, said to release the water out like a fire hose, blasting the humans until they drown, or it would just outright eat them as they struggle to remain afloat. Borboruca's already hairy and large appearance refers to this, and now its tusks have evolved to look like the nozzles of a hose, which it will use to fire off hydro pumps like nobody's business. Borboruca are actually often used as partners of firefighters around Buhay for this reason. It can also fire off mud bombs and muddy water out of its tusks, and it would get a new move, Mudslide, a base 90 special ground-type move which would lower the target's speed, as the target would struggle to find its footing in the slick of mud Borboruca creates through its tusks. As far as its hidden ability, I think Storm Drain would be very fitting with its swamp-draining creature inspiration, and would be a powerful ability for it to have with it being more of a special attacker. Earth Eater is also a good option, but I prefer Storm Drain. A little tidbit about the Borboruca that I left out is that they have a morbid and ironic fear of crabs, which continues to be ironic in these starters' case as Borboruca is super effective against the smoke crab line. And while we're talking about them, at level 36, Palabos evolves into Banalcano, the Blast Crab Pokemon, a fire electric type. With this evolution, a new crab shell has entered the villa, the Fiddler Crab. The enormous claw of the Fiddler Crab manifests as this railgun-esque claw of Banalcano. That is only part of the reason for its electric typing though. As you can see, the smoke of this line has become like a thundercloud with Banalcano. It also has these bright, almost steam-like parts of its antenna and claws. This refers to Santelmo, a type of fiery spirit from Filipino myth that looks like a ball of plasma. This creature is a personification of Saint Elmo's fire, an interesting phenomenon where glowing plasma forms around pointed objects during electrical storms, caused by a strong electric field that strips electrons from air molecules. This would happen to ships traveling through storms to and from the Philippines, and is more than likely where the legend began. But Banalcano's name is where this concept fully comes together, as it comes from Tambanocano, an enormous mythical crab with power over lightning, said to carry a storm on its back. Every time it opens or closes its eyes, lightning strikes, which is another reason why there's St. Elmo's fire coming from Banalcano's antennas, which were formerly eye stalks in its previous stages. It would absolutely learn Zap Cannon with a claw like that, and would learn a new signature move, Plasma Pincer, a base 95 physical electric type attack, where Banalcano charges up energy in its claw, and rather than firing it, it grabs and crushes the target in its enormous pincer, like a nutcracker. The target will be left with a bit of plasma residue on their body, making them more susceptible to electric type attacks for the following turn. For a hidden ability, I think that Lightning Rod, Flash Fire, or Volt Absorb could work well given Banalcano's St. Elmo or St. Elmo's Fire inspiration. And Banalcano is meant to be more of a mixed attacker. Lightning Rod would definitely make those Zap Cannons pack an even better punch. Banalcano is known for its lightning catching abilities though. Electricians around Buhay will bring this Pokemon along when working to help prevent them from getting zapped. For the final evolution of the Leafang line, at level 36, Vainiki evolves into Spinongal, the Blade Bat Pokemon, a Grass Steel type. This evolution gives Leaf Blade a whole new meaning, which would definitely be a part of its moveset. Spinongal obviously continues the Manananggal inspiration, and with it now being quad weak to the fire type, references the fact that fire is one of the main ways to defeat that evil spirit. With Spinongal being a much larger bat than its previous stages, it refers to the Palawan fruit bat, a mega bat found across all of Palawan, and refers to the giant golden-crowned flying fox. The spin part of its name refers to the spinning saw blade-like leaves of its lower half, which will spin back and forth while flying, looking like some form of dancing. It makes for a useful companion to tree trimmers and landscapers around Buhay. The spinning dance of these blades and its general body shape refer to the queen of the Sinulog Festival, an annual festival held in Cebu City, with a parade full of dancers, floats, and stage performances. The golden crown part of the flying fox comes together with the queen part of its design in the crown-esque face, ears, and hair of Spinongal. With its steel typing and blade-like stomach, it also references the term cast iron stomach, which is someone who doesn't have digestion issues no matter what they eat. What's that like? I would love to know. That being said, Sap Zipper could work well as a hidden ability to continue that reference. And the Manananggal is known for how and what it consumes. Spinangal is meant to be more of a physical attacker anyway, though it is already quad resistant to grass, so if we wanted something similar for steel, we could give it the new ability, Iron Stomach, which raises Spinangal's attack rather than taking damage from steel-type moves. As I said before, it will learn Leaf Blade, and Steel Wing is definitely on that list too, but it would also learn the new signature move, Brawn Mower, a base 85 physical steel-type attack which clears any terrain effects from the field and does extra damage to fighting types. This is basically a steel-type equivalent to moves like Ice Spinner and Rapid Spin, while giving it a way to combat one of the main types it's weak to. And the pun was just too good to pass up. I just want to take a moment to say this has got to be my personal favorite group of starters I've made thus far, with Spinangal being my pick of the bunch. Let me know which one you would pick though. Now it's time for my favorite part of these starter videos, where I explain the group theme. Each of these starters has a very clear mythological basis, but each myth comes from a different section of the Philippines, with the Tambocano coming from the Malayan people of Mindanao, the lower section, the Manananggal being widely recognized across the Visayan region, the middle section, and the Berberoka stalking the northern part of Luzon, the upper section. Though they all make reference to the fourth section of the Philippines, Palawan, with the animals they are inspired by. I wanted to try to represent all of the Philippines with this region, so I figured the starters were a good place to start. But y'all know me, you think I would just stop there? One aspect the Philippines is known for is a large sense of cultural pride. So each of these starters represents a different aspect of culture that I've labeled the 3 Fs. The Spinangal line represents faith, the system of beliefs a culture has, with this mon representing an enormous festival celebrating Santa Niño, aka Baby Jesus, with Christianity being a major religion across the Philippines. Though that was very unfortunately brought about from Spanish colonialism, it is still an interwoven part of their culture. Other parts of Filipino culture and history are celebrated at these events as well, but I wanted to acknowledge the large Christian influence across the country, while also acknowledging the reason it came to the country in the first place. The Banalcano line represents the second F, food, with Palabos' name coming from a common Filipino crab dish, and the entire line essentially being smoked crab. The Borbaroka line represents the third F, fun. F is for friends who do stuff together, with each of its stages representing different kinds of children's toys. Buboy is a bubble blower, Wartide represents the Palayak Palayukan as I said before, and Borbaroka with its special tusks is a water blaster. But those are the starters of the Buhay region. Thanks so much to our incredible members for going that extra mile to support the channel, which you can also do by hitting that join button. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.